So I actually have the absolute privilege of watching these X-Men films for the first time ever. I know, I've only seen three before, okay? But when I did, I was a literal kid. My mom was and still is a big fan of the X-Men, and I remember having these movies on DVD. I think it was like the first three. But again, I was so young. I never really watched them properly. So here we are. I am revisiting or really watching these X-Men films for the first time and bringing you my rankings for all of these X-Men films. So welcome and welcome back to the channel. My name is King Richie, and let's start ranking some X-Men films. Now, I will warn you, I have watched all the Deadpool films many times over. And it's for this reason that I will not technically be ranking them in this video. I have them thrown onto the list where I would place them, but I'm not really going to talk too much about them. So I'm sorry if you're here only for Deadpool, but also kind of weird that you're here at an X-Men ranking just for Deadpool. Anyways, it's still on the list. So let's get into my starting rankings, starting from the bottom. Coming in dead last is X-Men Origins Wolverine. I feel like some people will understand this placement. And I'll admit, just like a lot of the films that I watch, I had fun watching it. It's not unwatchable. I don't think any of these films are unwatchable, but it's a mess. The biggest offender is that god-awful version of Deadpool that they have. I understand that backlash. You know, no mouth, these random powers, zero personality, Wolverine style swords. They butchered Deadpool. This is one of the movies that I actually had seen before, but not in its entirety, but this is the one that I remember most. But look, aside from that, this movie's kind of confusing. There's one Sabretooth here, but there's another one in the earlier movies, but this one is his brother. Emma Frost is technically in it, but not really. Gambit shows up and does nothing. And while the movie is based around Wolverine's origins, it feels less like a solo piece and more like a mutant buffet where every side character is just stuffed in there with little payoff. Even the timeline is a disaster, okay? It tries to connect to the larger X-Men universe, but it literally gets retconned in the next film. Like, not even in the timeline. The next film that they released, it gets retconned. So it doesn't even have the so bad it's fun energy. It's just meh. And it's for that reason it's sitting at the bottom at number 11. Next up, The Last Stand at number 10. And I will straight up say it, this movie is a mess. And it's not a mess in the entertaining way either. The Cure storyline had some potential, but they butchered the execution. They kill off Cyclops, Jean Grey, and quote-unquote Professor X in one movie. And Cyclops doesn't even get a proper death scene. Bro just disappears. Our girl Mystique gets hit with the cure and becomes human. No mutant anymore, and Magneto drops her immediately like she meant nothing. And don't even get me started on my girl Rogue. She's barely in the movie after being a major focus in the first two. She's the main character in the first one, basically. The whole thing feels rushed, you know? It's like they almost crammed what could be a full season of TV content into under 2 hours. There's interesting characters here. We get introduced to Beast. We got Kitty Pryde, Angel. They're underused. The Phoenix storyline is supposed to be the emotional core, but it barely registers. It's going to be executed better in a later film. I'll get to that. It's a lot of chaos and no direction. Honestly, this one felt like the X-Men equivalent to that random Stranger Things episode where Eleven meets her goth sister. it doesn't fit. Number 9. The Wolverine isn't a bad film, but it's definitely one of the least memorable. It's slow, it's quieter, and while I appreciate the more grounded tone and the focus on Logan, it didn't hit for me. Set in Japan, the film introduces Yukio, Mariko, and Silver Samurai. And then that twist where Yashida, who is the person that Wolverine saves at the beginning, is actually the villain inside this metallic Silver Samurai suit. Interesting, I'll give it that. But the Viper as the main villain and as a character was so weak. I couldn't connect with that villain plot at all. I did really enjoy the Logan and Mariko dynamic, and I like that it wasn't just packed with mutants like Origins. It's just Logan, Yukio, and the Viper. But even the action scenes didn't quite land, And my fucking Wi-Fi kept cutting out while I'm watching it. And I didn't even want to. I'm sitting here hoping for the film to be over, and it kept cutting out on me. And I'm just trying to finish the film. I feel like that says a lot. It's more of a quiet before the storm movie. It's decent, but it drags. Okay, hear me out. The New Mutants is not as bad as I've seen people say. It's mediocre, sure. But I think people overhate it. And honestly, the entire CG budget was clearly dumped into Magik. And I am not mad about that because I love that girl. Magik is absolutely the highlight of this film. Everyone else is fine. Mirage is okay. Cannonball gets a little bit of a backstory. Sunspot doesn't do shit. And Wolfsbane is kind of just Mirage's love. Kind of does a little bit, but and then there's weird tone whiplash. It's a horror film, but not really. It's dark for sure, but the pacing is off. And then there's just random racism from Magik early on that goes completely unaddressed later. I'll say this. The third act picks this movie up, and the final fight looks really fucking cool. The Magik steals the show, both visually and thematically. It's a shame that the rest of the film didn't match that energy. Hot take. I liked Dark Phoenix. I know people hate it. I'm not that big of a comic person. I know comic people despise it. I think it gets a little bit of a bad rep. It opens with a pretty insane car crash, which had my jaw on the floor. And I don't think it really ever slows down from there. The action, especially the train sequence, is top tier. I think that train sequence may be some of the best action in the franchise. Jean Grey with the Phoenix Force is terrifying. And I like the internal conflict that she goes through. It's miles better than The Last Stand's Phoenix arc. Mystique dying was shocking. Beast wanting to kill Jean felt a little weird and out of character. But Magneto, oh, as always, phenomenal. Michael Fassbender, he carries. Now the villain is garbage. Vuk, not his name, Vuk. Her name, its name, I don't give a Vuk. That was terrible. Vuk and the aliens were so bland. It hurt. And I can see how people say that just the film overall is dull and the pacing can feel choppy, but I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the action. Felt like it may have needed another 20 to 30 minutes to breathe a little bit, tell a better story, but I had fun and I'm not going to apologize for liking it. Now, I said I wasn't ranking them, but this here is where I would have put Deadpool 2, okay? So, just for your reference. Number 6 is X-Men Apocalypse, and I was not ready for Magneto's daughter and wife to get murdered with one arrow between the two of them. That was wild. The stakes are high in this movie, and I dig it. You know, I feel like Havoc gets a little more time to shine. Jubilee shows up. She does nothing, but she's here. You know, give it up. And the team dynamic is fresh because we're in this alternate timeline after Days of Future Past. Visually, this movie goes all out. From the destruction to the Phoenix tease that we obviously get in Dark Phoenix. Jean's power awakening at the end was a moment. You know, I love that we're getting new characters. Well, not new characters, but new versions of these characters like Cyclops and Storm and Nightcrawler. Even though I wanted to cut Nightcrawler's fucking hair, it looks awful in this film. My main gripe, Psylocke doesn't do enough. Storm does nothing. She does nothing in this film. And I think Angel looks ridiculous. But, you know, I like the mental battle that Charles and Apocalypse have. I like the new timeline stuff. I like that how this felt kind of like an X-Men version of Infinity War. Not nearly as good as Infinity War, and it's not perfect. But it's entertaining and it's high stakes. This position right here is where I would put the first Deadpool. Rounding up the top 5 is bringing us back to where it all started. X-Men 2000. And even watching it fresh today, this is one of the ones that I have seen before. I think it holds up really, really well. It builds the universe, and it does so pretty well. You know, Logan and Rogue's dynamic is solid. Storm and Jean Grey don't do a ton yet, but you can still feel the team foundation forming. It's dark. It's grounded. The costumes are dark. But it does set the tone for modern superhero movies, you know? Magneto, Mystique, and Sabretooth, they're a great villain lineup. Toad exists. Like I said, the suits are meh, and they lack a lot of color. Just going to assume that's a product of the era and them not adapting correctly. But it's still, the movie still works. And what I love about this one is how confident it is in what it's doing. You know, it's not flashy, but it's smart. And it's just under 2 hours. Beautiful. Now, this here is where I would have ranked Deadpool versus Wolverine. And revisiting this film now after watching through that entire Fox X-Men universe, it really gives me a deeper appreciation for the send-off, you know, and all the characters that return. Number 4. This movie hit me hard. You know, Logan is not just a superhero film. It's a character drama. It's raw, it's grounded, it's heartbreaking. Laura calling Logan daddy before he dies. Oh, oh, I felt that. It's set in the far future. Logan gives us a world where mutants have all but vanished. Poor Charles is struggling with dementia, it seems. Logan is getting poisoned by the adamantium because his healing factor isn't helping him because of anti mutant, like GMO shit apparently going on in the food and water. And they are both just trying to survive. Caliban's back. Last character I expected to be back. Uh, and then like the mutant control too that they're trying to do with the little ones that Laura's part of X-23. That's Laura's name, not the whole syndicate. the the film's violent. Okay, it's rated R, and it's look the film is violent. It's rated R, but it's never gratuitous. It's emotional, but never manipulative, and it gives Hugh Jackman the send off for now that he deserved after 17 years. It's a top tier Marvel movie, not just an X-Men one, like a top tier Marvel movie. Till you're 90, Hugh. I did not expect to love X-Men First Class as much as I did. But it is so fresh. It's a new cast, a new tone, and a Cold War setting is perfect for this. I love young Charles and Eric's friendship, Professor X and Magneto. The split between them is inevitable, but seeing it unfold is tragic and beautiful. And the film is full of standouts. We got Havoc, Banshee, Azazel, Mystique. And I was genuinely surprised at how bold this movie was, like killing Darwin, whose whole power is survival, but he dies. It's probably my only gripe of the film, though. The suits look great. The visuals pop more than the original X-Men, obviously. And seeing Magneto finally put on the helmet, oh, absolute cinema. This was such a strong pivot point for the franchise, and it holds up. At number 2 is X2, and this movie fucking rocks. It builds perfectly off of X-Men 2000. We get more Rogue, we get Iceman, and we get Pyro. We have Nightcrawler, and that White House scene was so fun. The stakes are bigger, tension is tighter. I love Storm, okay, and I still wish Storm got a little more development. I feel like she's underappreciated in these films. But as an ensemble, the ensemble as a whole is better balanced. Magneto is a frenemy, Striker, and Jean's sacrifice is certainly emotional. There's like a brainwashing mutants plot. There's a deep dive into Wolverine's past, deeper than we have seen before, and some real character consequences. It's just a better version of what the first film started. It is so good. To absolutely no one's surprise, at number 1, X-Men Days of Future Past, this is the crown jewel of the franchise. I had high expectations going in, and it still exceeded every single one of my expectations. Dual timelines. The Sentinels are finally introduced. JFK is killed by Magneto, but he's also a mutant. The crossover of the OG and the First Class. It's all masterfully done and executed. It's X-Men at their most epic and emotional. It's the X-Men at their best. The future is bleak, but the mission to fix it. Whew! Kitty Pryde, Iceman, Blink, Bishop, all these new characters are shining. And meanwhile, in the past, we have Mystique's internal struggle. We have Charles Xavier at probably his lowest. And we have Wolverine, of all people, trying to hold it all together. The emotional stakes are massive. Storm's death in the present, I gasped. They did my girl dirty. Magneto betrayal in the past slash future, shocker. It still felt fresh, and at the end where the future is rewritten, it's so satisfying. This is what superhero movies can be when they go all in. If you haven't seen this one, at least fix that. It's not just a great X-Men film. It is a great Marvel film. It is a great film, period. So that's my rankings of all the X-Men films. I did watch all the Fantastic Four films too to refresh my mind for the new Fantastic Four, which you want those rankings real quick? Let me tell you, the new Fantastic from 2015 is dog shit. I didn't watch the 94 one, and then the other two from 2005 and Rise of the Silver Surfer are fun, and I love them. There's your ranking. All done. I really want to know what everyone thinks about the X-Men films in the comments. Please let me know what your own personal rankings are. If there's anything, I know there's something that, people clash with me about that you don't really agree with. I know Dark Phoenix being as high as it is probably going to be a little controversial, but I did enjoy the film. I said it. So yeah, that's a wrap for me. You made it this far. I caught you, and you're not subscribed. So why not? You're already here. And with all that being said, thank you all so much for tuning into the video. And if you did enjoy the video, please leave it a like, because it helps out the channel so much. And that is a wrap for me. So I will see you all in the next one. To me, my X-Men. Peace.